you're watching the Screaming Fish here, people. Once again, I'm here for you guys with yet another video, and this time, as you can tell by the clearly very obvious line of the screen, we are looking at Luke Cage Season 2. Should not have done that. But yeah, in case you couldn't understand a word I just said, we are looking at Luke Cage Season 2. And yeah, I know it's been a while since I reviewed a TV show, but I thought, actually, I did enjoy reviewing TV shows, so I thought, why not try it again? And also, it was really convenient because Luke Cage Season 2 was coming out, and yeah, I know I'm like 4 weeks late with the video, but, I mean, come on guys, I was busy. Got to understand me here, please. Anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and review Luke Cage Season 2. I have no idea why I'm pointing over there. I did really enjoy the first season of Luke Cage. Sure, the second half of the season wasn't as good as the first half, and Diamondback was kind of a letdown, but on the whole, I really liked it. So naturally, I was excited for Season 2. However, so far, the Marvel Netflix shows, well, most of them anyway, for some reason always have great first seasons, which are then followed by still pretty good but pretty lackluster second seasons. The trailers for Luke Cage Season 2 did get me pretty excited though, even if they had nothing on the trailers for Season 1. God, those trailers were amazing. Anyway, did Luke Cage Season 2 live up to Season 1? Yes. Yes, it did. I absolutely loved Season 2 of Luke Cage, and I would argue that Luke Cage is so far the only Marvel Netflix show with a legitimately great second season. For this review, I am going to be including spoilers, so if you have not watched Luke Cage Season 2 yet, please do that first and then come back to this review. Otherwise, just proceed at your own risk. Anyway, on with what I liked. Mike Colter as Luke Cage is still awesome. This is by far his best performance as this character, but I do think some of that credit should go to the writers. Season 2 is a lot more reliant on drama than the first season was, and I do think that gave Mike Colter the chance to delve deep into the character and go a little further this time, and boy, did it pay off. Luke's journey as a character in this show is the best part of it because he constantly has people either questioning or outright telling him that he's going too far, which does raise the question. Can Luke restrain himself when necessary, or is what he does slowly molding him into a mindless brute? And you can definitely see that transition throughout this season. In the first few episodes, he's just knocking people out with the slap of his hand like he usually does. But by the end of this show, he's literally breaking people's limbs, and in some cases outright torturing them. That transition works not only because it's slowly developed across the entire season, but also because Luke Cage himself strongly believes that's the right direction to go in. He thinks that if he doesn't think the way criminals do, then he won't be able to stop them, and that belief that he's doing the right thing no matter what is really what pushes him over the edge. The ending of this season where Luke basically became the crime boss of Harlem took me completely by surprise. Yes, it was strangely epic, but most of all it felt like a visual representation of Luke Cage's transformation being completed. What do I mean by that? Well, I feel like the main focus of this season was Luke Cage basically becoming the very thing he's trying to put a stop to in Harlem. But because his belief that what he's doing is right is so strong, he never stops to think that maybe he's going too far, or maybe what he's doing is wrong. And that's a fascinating direction to take this character. And it works so well. So well that the ending of this season doesn't feel like a victory. It feels more like the hero giving in out of desperation because he can't see any other way of protecting what he loves. And in effect, he becomes what he set out to destroy. The other characters in this show are also, for the most part, pretty great. Alfre Woodard was incredible as Mariah in this season. Her performance ranged from super engaging and sympathetic to downright terrifying and despicable. She takes all of those characteristics and conveys them as one, making for one of the most enthralling TV villains of the past few years. Mariah's story in this season, when you think about it, is actually the complete antithesis to Luke's story. Her status in the crime world and her legacy fall apart, whereas Luke Cage rises to take over her place in the crime world. However, we don't just see Mariah's legacy fall apart, we also get to see her mind fall apart as she is driven insane by the events that transpire. Eventually, she even starts to see hallucinations of her dead mother and uncle. While she is pretty level-headed for a large proportion of the show, you can tell, based off the acts of violence that she commits, as well as the small and subtle mannerisms, that she is a psychopath deep down. Mustafa Shakir as Bushmaster? Yeah, he was awesome. In the first half of the season, when he starts off as a cold, brutal, yet intelligent villain, he's really intimidating. The scene when he first beats up Luke Cage on a street and just outright humiliates him is a really cool way of establishing him as Luke Cage's rival. The rivalry between Luke Cage and Bushmaster in this season is one of the best things about this show so far. I love how they start off as sworn enemies who really, really hate each other, and then at the end they sort of become unlikely allies, but they're still kind of rivals because they do have one last fight at the end. But still, watching them fight together was actually really cool. Their interactions outside of the action sequences are tense, but they also have an unexpected level of levity to them, which is mostly due to the rivalry, as these two will basically insult each other or even provoke each other. And surprisingly, it didn't feel out of place or make their dynamic feel disjointed. It actually made their scenes together more entertaining. Mustafa Shakir gives a great performance as Bushmaster. I really enjoyed seeing his dynamic with Luke Cage develop as the season progressed, and I'm definitely interested to see where this character pops up next. The supporting characters are also great here. Simone Mazique's performance as Misty Knight was awesome, and she had a really engaging character arc in this season. Thea Rossi was once again wonderfully over the top as Shades, and Reggie Cathy was truly brilliant in this show. May he rest in peace. He will be missed. A common complaint that many people, including myself, have made about the Marvel Netflix shows is that they're too long, and it often feels that way in the final episodes of every season. But weirdly, I didn't feel that way at all this time. Yeah, like the last season, season 2 is 13 episodes long, but there was never a point where I thought an episode was dragging on too long, because the show kept me engaged all the way through from start to finish. I never once found myself picking up my phone to see what the time was, and for a Marvel Netflix show to keep me that hooked all the way through, that's pretty impressive. This season does do a great job at showing what these characters do when they get desperate. So as mentioned earlier, we have Luke Cage becoming the crime boss of Harlem because he feels he has to, and we also have Shades double-crossing Mariah when he realizes that she's going too far. There are a lot of scenes where the characters are thrown into desperate situations, as well as character choices that are made purely out of desperation. And the way this season portrays that theme of desperation is frustratingly captivating as well as moving. I say frustratingly captivating because a lot of the time you feel like these characters are going down the wrong path, but what makes it captivating is the characters' belief that they're doing the right thing, and that they're doing it out of desperation, as well as showing the consequences of these acts of desperation. One of the many complaints I had with Jessica Jones Season 2, for example, was the lack of connection to the other shows. Jessica Jones barely acknowledges the events of the Defenders. However, Luke Cage really does feel like it connects to the other shows, and even the movies. Avengers is referenced multiple times, Matt Murdock aka Daredevil is name dropped, as well as Jessica Jones. Colleen Wing appears at one point. There's even a crossover episode between this show and Iron Fist, and look, I've said loads of times that I didn't like the Iron Fist TV show. I even made a video explaining why I didn't like it. But episode 10 of Luke Cage Season 2 might just be my favourite episode in the entire Marvel Netflix verse. It has some of the best action sequences in the show. The dynamic between Luke and Iron Fist is great, and speaking of Iron Fist, I found him considerably more likable in this one episode than he ever was anywhere else. Finn Jones gave a much more down-to-earth performance than last time, which was a huge step up from the whiny little baby that we've come to know. Plus, seeing Iron Fist fighting alongside Luke Cage was freaking epic, especially the part where Danny punches Luke's hand and sends everyone and everything around them flying. When I saw that scene, my mouth just dropped to the ground. The action in Luke Cage Season 2 is amazing. There's really no better way to put it. The choreography has definitely improved since the first season, and now the fight scenes seem less repetitive and stiff-looking. The bridge fight scene in episode 6 is incredible, not just because of the choreography, but also the camera work. Whereas in season 1, the action was filmed with a lot of close-ups, in season 2, there is a lot of wide shots where you can just see everything that's going on in the action, and it's amazing. As for complaints with this season, I didn't really like the inclusion of Mariah's daughter Tilda. Yes, it does add more to Mariah, but that's the problem. Her inclusion doesn't really serve any other purpose except the plot. A lot of the time she's just there so that the audience can have yet another excuse to hate Mariah. But with that said, I am looking forward to seeing this character again somewhere down the road because Gabrielle Dennis did play this character really well, and they do set her up as one of the villains of Season 3, so if done right, she could be cool, who knows. I also thought it was a mistake to kill off Mariah. I think they should have kept her around for at least one more season because her end just felt kind of rushed. Because of that, her story just felt incomplete, which is disappointing because up until that point, she was one of the best parts of this show. I was also annoyed that Claire Temple didn't really say or do too much in this season. She was there for a couple of episodes, but then she was just gone like that, and it kind of annoyed me because I think she could have added a lot more tension to the show, but considering this season was pretty tense, I don't think it needed it too much, but still, I was disappointed that she was pretty underutilized. On the whole, I really enjoyed Luke Cage Season 2. In fact, I don't think I've had this much fun watching a Marvel Netflix show since the first season of Daredevil. And I'm quite glad to say that, because, for me at least, a lot of the shows seem to be going on a downward spiral, but this and the first season of The Punisher have shown me that there is still hope for the Marvel Netflix shows. And I'm itching, just itching to see where Season 3 will go with these characters. So with that in mind, Luke Cage Season 2 gets a 9.4 out of 10. So, guys, those are my thoughts on Luke Cage Season 2. I had to kind of be a little bit quiet because it's night time and people will probably be asleep. But anyway, yeah, once again, those are my thoughts on Luke Cage Season 2. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I will see you guys in the next one. But before I go, I would just like to ask you guys, what did you think of Luke Cage Season 2? Did you think it was good? Did you think it was bad? Did you think it was somewhere in the middle? Please leave your thoughts down in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one. So, goodbye.